Hello, my name is Vicki Joseph, and I've been asked by Alphanet to speak with you about my lung transplant journey experiences. As you probably know, Alphanet is a nonprofit organization offering a range of services to members of the Alpha-1 community. Let me say right from the start that I have no expertise in these matters. I'm not employed by Alphanet, though I've known and liked Fred Walsh for many, many years. I'm not a doctor, nor do I have any medical training whatsoever. And I'm not affiliated with any particular hospital or transplant center, except as a patient. So, I have nothing to sell, nothing to advertise, and nothing to advocate for. You should know that I am a lawyer. I know, everybody hates lawyers, but I'm not dispensing any legal advice here either. And I'm a college professor, but trust me, there won't be a quiz. So, why should you listen to what I have to say? Because I'm a member of the Alpha-1 community too, and I'm in the process of making some of the decisions you might soon be making. I want to share my own experiences with you so that as you consider transplant as a medical option, you might realize that you're not alone and that others of us are here for you as resources. Now, only you know what's right for you and your family, and ultimately the decisions, especially the most difficult ones, are yours and yours alone. But maybe by watching these tapes in conjunction with your other sources of information, you might find your decisions easier to reach. Or at least you might feel more comfortable asking the questions and getting the answers you need to make informed decisions. Now that I've told you who I'm not, perhaps I should tell you a little bit of who I am. At 38, I learned I had Alpha-1, an enzyme deficiency that had passed for asthma for several years before I was properly diagnosed. As a result, I have genetic emphysema, a disease no one in my family believed I could have, as I'd never smoked, and we'd only ever heard of emphysema as a smoker's disease, or as a disease acquired from air or working conditions. Suddenly, at 38, after something as simple as a blood test, I found myself on oxygen. And I was told that my life as I knew it was a thing of the past, and that my natural life was almost, but not quite over. Well, I was 38 then, and I'm 51 now, and I can tell you that some of my best times, loudest laughs, deepest loves, and most amazing experiences have occurred since I learned I was almost dead. Living with a disease isn't easy, and I won't lie and tell you it was all effortless. And if you're watching this tape, I suspect you already know that, and perhaps know that better than I do. During those years, a transplant seemed like a science fiction option, not a medical option. Frankly, I shivered at the mention of the word in any context. I thought of transplant as something to consider later and dismissed it from my mind. After all, I'd seen the statistics, and they didn't look good. And I'd seen the horror movies where the transplanted hand took over the rest of the body, or the transplanted face was swapped from John Travolta to Nicolas Cage and back. So, anytime, anyone, anywhere mentioned transplant to me, I just shrugged and smiled and said, not yet, not me, not now. I would lift my oxygen tank over my shoulder, get out of the room as fast as my breathless little self could move. But, then as the years went on and my disease progressed, it got harder to escape out of the room and harder to breathe, even when not escaping from anything. And so, after a particularly evil bout with a respiratory infection last year, my prolactin infusion nurse sat with me, and she suggested in a pretty amazing way that if I ever wanted to consider transplant as an option for a second chance at life, I should start the process as soon as possible. Well, finally, I listened, and I believed her. And so I initiated the transplant discussion with my family, and we decided to begin the long road that may lead to transplant. But, it wasn't a direct line from the thought of a transplant to the planning stages. I had more than a few sleepless nights, many heated discussions with family and friends, a good cry in the shower, and everywhere else a time or two. And I even had some arguments about whether transplant was realistic for anyone, and especially whether it was realistic for me. I think there's a certain amount of denial, especially with close family, that keeps us all from seeing what's really happening as we get older and sicker. After all, I'd lived with oxygen for over a decade. For so long, I'd pretended to be well for the sake of my family and my own sanity. It was a broad leap for us to imagine me sick enough to need such a drastic step, even though the rise in my oxygen consumption over the years should have been a signal to us that my health was not the same, even if my enthusiasm for life didn't diminish. If you're watching this tape now, congratulations. I know what it's like that you've undergone this journey, and I know that it's a journey just like mine. And you're now at least considering transplant as a medical treatment option. I know this is not an easy place to get to, and I admire your desire to seek information and to gather resources and to begin to make decisions. The journey from this place to transplant isn't easy either. I must confess to being afraid and unsure, hopeful and eager, all at the same time. You know, there are days that makes this whole process feel so natural. During those days, I use phrases like, after transplant, we'll do this, and after transplant, we'll go here. And I catch myself, and I smile at how hopeful I am. But then, you know, there's those darker days, more tired days, and I wonder still if I'm doing the right thing. I think a sense of humor and some considerable patience helps get through the more difficult times. That, and knowing that this is a day-by-day journey. Although just a couple of steps at a time may be all we can do in a day, we still can get there. I've divided my comments into sections. You can watch straight through and save your questions and comments until you finish, or you can watch a bit at a time as you're ready to progress from one stage to another. Or you can stop right now and save these comments of mine until you feel more ready to proceed. No matter what you do next, please know that you don't have to be alone during this process. There are support groups, medical personnel, past transplant recipients, and other people and resources ready and waiting to help you. Don't be afraid. Just ask for what you need. And if you don't know what you need, as I didn't for a very long time, just ask for help. Those of us farther along the journey, we'll be there to help you.